Okay, so we're just going to analyse a little bit of footage here from Holland against Ghana, international football friendly. We're just going to look at one of the first goal. Let's go 1-0 from Holland, which will happen in about 10 seconds. And we're just going to look at it from a coaching point of view and just analyse the goal. So I'll let the footage play through and then we'll break it down afterwards. Okay, so there's the goal, pretty simple tapping. We'll just let it see the replay so you get another different angle of the goal. Okay, so the first thing we notice here as Holland have got the ball is that Ghana, their midfield three, if we look at them, we can see in the picture, they've moved very much to the left-hand side. The ball's slightly off-central, but they've moved to the side, and they've allowed a lot of space to open up into the channel, which allows Holland to switch the play. So if we just let the play roll on, and we can see now, as they've switched, there's an awful lot of space for, this is a full-back here at the moment, there's an awful lot of space to come into. And you can see there's a little bit of space between the lines, it's not too much, but there's an awful lot of space in this channel. You can see the fullback, who's just out of picture, or just at the bottom of your picture here, he recognises he's too far away to go and close down, so he stays connected, which is the correct thing to do. So we're going to start looking at various different points from here onwards, really. First thing that I want you to we'll just notice is the movement of this striker here. It's a really good tip. We talk about strikers' movements, moving and running across defenders, diagonally in behind. He makes a sort of half-hearted attempt to see whether he's going to be able to make a run in behind the fullback here. So if you just look at his movement, we can see there. So that's quite good movement. So if I just scroll this back, what we'll look at this time is the movement here of the second striker. So Robin. Alright, we can already see that he's sort of dropped off in between the space between the lines, playing into that zone 14 area, really valuable space, which Ghana aren't really protecting that well at the moment. But you can see it creates a slight 3v2 overload on here. Because if you see, we've got the fullback here, we've got the player closing down the play, but you can see the overlap here coming from this player around the outside. And as Robin moves towards the play here, it creates a 3v2 temporarily here. So you can see the movement there. And he's on the ball, and he's able to turn, and that's what you don't really want. That's desperately what you do not need and do not want. So the player marking him should have been a lot tighter, should have prevented him from turning. But we'll look at the defending side second of all. What we're now going to look at is the movement of the other players. So if we can see the overlapping run here, exploiting the space into the channel. That's really good because Ghana, despite they were all shifted across to the left-hand side, so the right-hand side is now open with the switch of play. So it's definitely on to make that overlapping run and create a 1v1 situation. But then we'll also look at the run of Schneider, who's on the ball at the moment. So we see here that he plays the pass, but if we look here, he makes that bursting power run into the box. Really great run because there's not a lot of space. If you look, there's 3 Ghana players in where he's about to run. There's not a lot of space in there, but he does, and he gets rewarded for it. So if you just look, great first touch, lovely little pick out there for the goal, so good play there. What we're going to look at here is just the role of the defensive side. I've already mentioned that the fullback's correct on this side to play. They're not really protecting the space between the lines. They're allowing Robin to play in that hole and not really tracking time. But this player here, as soon as there's a bit of engagement, he needs to cover around the back a little bit more, needs to make a little bit more effort to go beyond the referee and to get in there to protect that area. So that's one of the first areas where they make a bit of a mistake, and you can see if he had cover around the back, he would be able to close off Robin in that space. We've already looked at this defender here who's allowed Robin to peel off, not marking tight. And if you look now, he's disconnected from his back four, which is leaving a big gap. And you'll see that that's a problem with the goal eventually in a second. If we look at the fullback on this near side, his body position now is really bad. The ball's been played inside, and he's still moving with his back to play, if you like. He needs to react much quicker. He needs to be covering around the back and tracking any runs that come in. And he's just not on his toes. He's caught a little bit casual, if you like, defending. And you can see this holding midfielder has now gone to engage the ball. You can see 3 players are trying to protect zone 14, where Robin is in on the ball. Now they're making ditch text, but it's not a good enough effort. Instead of tracking the runner, which this player could have done, he's gone to go and close down the ball to protect the central space. As we see, the defender that stepped out, if I place on now, if he had have either gone tight and stopped Robin from turning, it would have perhaps saved the goal. If he hadn't have gone and just accepted that Robin had peeled off and got the ball, and he'd have stayed connected to his back line, he would now be around the back of this defender here, being able to cover into this space. And this cross, if he was better positioned, he would probably be able to cut out and prevent the goal. So just looking at some of the different mistakes there from defending. So I guess in summary, from a defensive point of view, the things that we want to learn about is protecting zone 14. It's about your body shape when you're a fullback, ensuring that runners can't go beyond you, that you're tight as a unit, you're close to your centre back with no gaps for players to run through when you're defending tight around your box. And really, we're looking from an attacking point of view. We're looking there at the number 10, Robin in this instance, creating a 3v2 in the channels with good movement moving into space. You've got the other striker who's making those diagonal runs in behind, and you've got the fullback making those overlapping runs into the space once they've switched the play.